Hey guys, Avar here. Today, I'm dominating the lobby in a full up tier with the F-86 F-30, facing stacks of higher BR planes as well as dealing with a team that just won't stop dying. That match gets absolutely wild, but I have another carry game in the second half of the video, so keep watching to the end. This plane is superior to the R2Y2 in almost every way. Easily reaching over 1100 km an hour at sea level, the F-Sabre achieves speeds only dreamed of by most A3s, significantly outrunning its most notable competitor, the MiG-15 BIS, and also outrunning popular 87s such as the G91 and A4E. Importantly, its high-speed acceleration and energy retention are also good, so you can take turns without dumping all of your speed. And because of its high-speed agility, the Sabre can hit shots that other jets can only dream about due to their bad compression. All this comes with the caveat that the handling is piggish at speeds below 500 km an hour, and the low-speed acceleration is quite mediocre. But these drawbacks are fine, because without them the plane would be much higher in BR and face very unfun up-tier matches. A3 matchmaking is currently very forgiving for Japan, so this jet is very fun to fly, and even if the full up-tiers are playable, as you're about to see in the upcoming clutch where I managed 6 kills in 2.5 minutes and still have to do even more to get the win. Most of my team has climbed straight in, with a trio of MiG-19s leading the charge. This is a great setup for winning in the down tier because they will force the enemy group to break up and allow our team to get 6 o'clock shots for free. However, things will not go as planned. I began the game like I always do in the Sabre, by side climbing left to avoid the horde of better climbing planes. An enemy encountered shows up above me, and I pitched towards him briefly to test him for whether he would go head on. He chooses not to do so, which tells me that either he did not see me, or he is a more conservative player who values the survival of his plane. And he will turn around to get on my 6 in a second, and I can tell that he will be taking more passive lines, but he will still be attacking me. So I decide to take the head on. I don't want him trailing me and firing a missile, because the Entendre does get aimed on Bs, so I take a few pot shots, and he skims out of the way. So while I was playing this match, I was unaware that we had MiG-19s at altitude, and the game already looked at it like a disaster due to my team's positioning. The enemy is pushing in at altitude with a ton of F-3Hs backed up by various supporting planes, while our team rushed the deck and gave up early game position for free, meaning that I have to work off the back foot. Even though altitude isn't as important as it is in props, it's still beneficial to have more of it than the enemy. But fortunately for me, there's going to be a Mr. 4A that's focused on the developing furball, and he's going to give me a clear shot from the right side. So I close in, I see that he's distracted, he's not reacting to me at all until I'm right there, and he gives me a clear broadside shot, and he goes down. So I know that A4E is going for me before I committed to the Mystère, so I briefly pre-turn to spoil his missile solution, and that leaves me going down towards the furball with a slow Entendre right in front of my guns. However, I hear an F3H behind me, and so I'm able to dodge the missile, and then I'm able to pull back into the Entendre, and I'm able to crit him, and that must have destabilized him somehow. Maybe I took off his wingtip because he goes into the dirt. So our team is still in an okay situation. The problem is that we are losing planes for no good reason. So the Vautour plants it into the ground, and then the J6A, which is a Chinese MiG-19 and the most dangerous plane in this lobby, also plants it into the ground. So my team has lost a 9-3 plane for an 8-3 plane. So as I was outside the furball temporarily, I surveyed the situation, picked my next target. The F9F, I'm almost certain is going to turn for me, but I'm going to ignore him because the Venom in front of me is going slow. And the Venom, if he's paying attention, the Venom is extremely annoying to kill. It has great turn rate, good guns, good retention. So I killed him as he was giving me the easiest and closest shot of everyone in the match. So as expected, the F9F turned for me, so I once again do a pre-turn to spoil his solution. So if you don't know, AIM-9Bs are useless when you fire them at a target that's in a shallow turn because they go straight for a half a second. So if you're going fast enough, you do a shallow turn, they're useless before they're launched. So I close on the Entendre, he wasn't paying attention, I get the Severe, and then the F9F went after the P16, he got distracted, he's going to turn for the P16 in a second here, he's not looking at me anymore, and I'm able to get the Severe on the F9F as well. So then I'm going to be hanging in behind the A4E early. I'm not concerned about the F3Hs far away right now because they're a little bit busy. I'm trying to get the kills. I just got a triple strike. I'm feeling that I can rack up some frags pretty quickly. So in comes the A4E, and I get the severe damage on him in the second pass. I'm not sure what happened, and maybe he G-locked. So I got 6 kills in about 3 minutes. So there's an F3H in front of me, and I'm thinking about the head-on, but the F3H is also thinking about the head-on, so I duck out of the way, and he gets slammed by the P16, because there was no way I'm going to trade for an already dead plane. F2 Sabre in the back, though, I'm able to line up, and I get the headshot in on him. Unfortunately, the F3H behind me gets the shot in on the P16, and the P16 goes down in the background, leaving me in the 1v1. And thankfully, I do have advantages that I can exploit versus the Demon. It has great initial pull, but horrible retention, so I abuse that in the dogfight against him by dodging the head-on, and then opening with a lag pursuit trajectory. So all I have to do is dodge him twice, and he's out of speed because his retention is absolutely terrible, especially when he goes straight up. So credit when credit is due. He realized this, and he tries to run away, and as the F3H is faster, it gives me problems if he can get out of this situation, but thankfully it is also the broadside of a barn. So I rip off a few 50 cals, and boom, that sets him on fire. So that is kill number 8 in 3.5 minutes. That is one of the furthest one-shots I've ever had with 50 cals. Now granted, I've had longer one-shots with them, but I don't really have them on footage, so take it or leave it. So at this point, I was pretty hyped up, to say the least. It always gets my blood pumping to rack up 8 kills in battle, especially when it happens in such a short time. The enemy F3H gave me a compliment, and I will now activate a blind hunt to chase down the last guy and secure the 9th kill, which would surpass the previous record I set for myself in this aircraft. So I popped the order, and it's a Nighthawk with a name that is regular ARB. So we'll skip ahead to when I finally managed to run him down. So thankfully this guy didn't jail out on his runway or crash himself or do anything stupid, so I am now in position to get the 9th kill. All I'm worried about is getting hit by his bombs, and he crashes himself. So there goes the potential 9th kill right there. So this guy died as he lived, wasting everyone's time, including his own, but some people are just born on the wrong side of the bed, so I'll take 8, and I'll move on to the next match, which is another 8 kill game, but flown at a little bit of a slower pace. This game is from back in October, but as the BRs and flight models haven't changed since then, this footage is still relevant to today's War Thunder. As usual, I side climbed left and pushed the head on, but when the MiG-15 didn't see me, I'm gonna shoot at him, managed to get a crit even after he starts dodging, and now I will run. So I'll point my nose down, so I can get my solution on the 2 MiGs that are distracted by the B-57, or rather, the G91 and the MiG-15. So naturally, I'm still looking around to make sure I don't get jumped, and I'm looking around behind me, and I'm seeing that I can't afford to get bogged down in a long engagement with these two, because my team will need my help. So the MiG-15 BIS and the G91R4 will go vertical, giving me an easy shot, and I'm only going to get a crit on this guy, which is a BIS-ish, which is the premium version at 8.0. So most people will point to 50 cals being bad, and in this match they do a little bit less damage than in the previous match that you've seen, but in this instance the only thing that was really bad was my aim. So another MiG-15 comes in, I took the head-on, and we both dodged. So dodging head-ons in the Sabre feels fun as long as you're fast enough, because it's very easy to snap out of the way to the left or right and pull under their nose. So I turn around, I do the same thing to the MiG-15 and the G91, get out of their guns. G91 pulls back around for me, and in a second here, yep, he launches an absolutely terrible missile. Remember the previous match, what I said about pre-turning? Well, there's a very good example of that right there. If you're turning a little bit while you're going fast enough and he launches it from too close, it's not going to pull into you. So I don't want to waste time engaging those guys because they know that I'm there, and therefore they're making things difficult for me, whereas if I head towards the furball and clean up guys that are focused on my teammates, I will be able to get some kills. So the P-16 heads up vertical in front of me, he didn't see me, that's exactly what I mean, so I get the frag on him. So this is what you want to do in the Sabre whenever you can. Stay outside the main area of attention half of the time, stay fast. I wanted to kill the J2 instead, and instead the P-16 made himself an opportune target. Then a MiG-15 crossed in front of me, so I took a pot shot and only got a hit. So the Seahawks that are in here, there's 2 Seahawks if I'm counting correctly, they do not worry me that much on their own. They're too slow. So I got the P-16 out because he was a free kill, he wasn't particularly dangerous. I mean, nobody flies that thing anymore. Since October it disappeared basically, but I took him out, he was an easy target, and now I want the MiGs dead especially. So I pitch into the J2, which is the Chinese MiG, and I get only a hit. I led slightly underneath him, but a couple of my teammates are still alive as bait, and I get another hit on the Seahawk, and I'm starting to get a little bit tilted with the 50 cals at this point. So getting a little bit frustrated, but thankfully the J2 does not know what object permanence is, and he's going to give me a free side shot. So I'm going to get a severe damage in, so I'm going to think, okay, now I did something to him, right? Well, maybe. So I go back into the enemy group. The Q5's running away, the other 4 are mixed in with the engagement, so if I chase the Q5 forever, I give up the lives of my allies for nothing. So I'm going to turn back around, and I'm going to make a pass on the Seahawk that is chasing the A4E. So I'm looking around, I see the Seahawk is looking at the A4E, and because he's focused on my teammate, then I'm able to come in and I'm able to get the severe. You may be wondering, how do I get all these shots while I'm staying mostly uncontested? And the answer is, up to this point, I've been keeping my speed relative to the other planes. And when people see a slow target that's an easy frag, and a fast guy that's in a fighter that will be annoying to kill, they go after the slow target 9 times out of 10. So that's how I'm able to keep myself from being shot at like the rest of my teammates are. So I go after the J2, I finish him off, the severe damage was more like a useless crit, and I'm going to continue straight to pick up some speed, since the G91 has realized that I've been picking off his teammates one by one. Now, I want to give a kudos to my friendly Sabre in the back, as he survived way longer than he had any right to in the situation, and actually he will come back in clutch later. So the G91 pulled off once he was no longer catching me, and from how aggressive he was with those missiles, I'm guessing that he's out of them. But he turned right back in front of me, gets in the head-on. I take the hit in the head-on, unfortunately, but I am able to keep going for the Seahawk, and the thing about the Seahawk is that is very bad retention in the horizontal plane. I needed to take out one of them because I'm fairly confident in the 1v1, and the Seahawk is just the man for the job. So the G91's energy retention isn't as terrible as the Seahawks, but I can still abuse it. I can out-accelerate him at high speeds, but he does out-accelerate me and out-turn me while we are both at low speeds, and we're going to see this in a second here. I took the merge with him. I went over top of him. I should be in the advantageous position to come back down on the scissors, but he's going so slow that he's just going to cut inside, and if I keep turning back in front of his guns, then he's just going to kill me. So I break away. I have to run from as I didn't win the first turn, I'm not going to come back and win the second turn magically, and the Sabre, since low speed turning is not the strong point, so I had plenty of speed to get away, and now I run. So I'm going to start opening up the distance, since I will lose if I keep holding my mouse cursor over him in that scenario. So I just open up the distance, I patiently wait, and if you're wondering, hey, the Sabre looks German, well, that's just a user camo, I'm sorry about that. So the G91 once again breaks off, and if he acts like he has before, this is going to be a fake break. He's going to be giving me space to come back, and then he's going to head on me again, which is actually kind of a smart play, except the problem is how he's executing it. He's going up, he's way too slow. I should have hit the shot there, but I don't. That's fine. And then I pull into him again, and what he's doing with his lines is he's giving me way too much space. He's sitting above me like he wants to give me a rate fight. Then he comes back in, he turns around, so he turns straight back into my guns. He gave up any position that he had, which he didn't have much. And then the Sabre comes in, the Giga Chad, and the G91 is forced to turn for that because he realizes that if he keeps turning with me, he gives the F86A free 6. So he has to extend, and from this point, it's basically over. I have too much position on him, and I get a crit on him, and that destabilizes his wing, and it will eventually send him straight into the ground. So this match, in my opinion, this is actually a little bit more digestible example of how you play the Sabre because everything is not happening all at once. So you want to avoid entanglements as best as you can. You keep your speed to make yourself an unattractive target, and if you miss your pass on a guy, you move on to the next one because you're not a MiG-15 that can keep looping 2 guys at once and kill them that way. This plane is essentially what Boom and Zoom looks like in this tier of jets. You just keep going fast, you make passes on the furball, and you want to do that in a lot of vehicles, but this plane is the meta definer when it comes to that playstyle. So I'm going to pop a blind hunt. The last guy is going to be an IL-28, and that kill is going to be a little bit risky because of the back gunner, but it's going to be fairly pedestrian. I'm going to end up nailing him with just 60 rounds, and the other kill will be a Q5 that is taking off from his runway. So here I am, I'm coming in, and I want to avoid getting shot by the Roland. So there's 2 main ways to do it. You can go left through the river there, or you can keep going straight like me, and there is a tiny little hill that you can use as a little bit of cover that will keep the Rolands from launching on you. So I'm going to head over to the right. I'm going to keep the small hills between me and the Roland launchers, and I'm going to be skimming the terrain as closely as possible. Now I know the Q5 is there, and the Q5 being faster than the F86F, if I let him take off, run away, and go for the bases, it's just going to be very annoying and time consuming, and I don't really want to do that. So I stay below the ridge line, and then pop up at the last second, since at very close ranges the Rolands can't pull in soon enough. Pop up, go over it, and by the time that the SPA can react, I'm already looking at the Q5, and he just chases out. He knows the game, he gives up, and that's 8 kills. So from there, I am free to run into the riverbed if my pass had been unsuccessful, and that would have kept me safe from the incoming Rolands. But they are, of course, old Rolands, so I'm not at too much risk, I say, as I lose my wing. So that's 8 kills, and GG. If you made it this far into the video, thanks for watching. I have the invite to my Discord server in the video description for people who want to join my small community, so have fun, and I'll catch you in the next video.